Everyone in my family swore that the old cabin on Birch Lake never existed, but the map I found in my father's locked toolbox said otherwise. The night he died, he whispered one strange sentence. "If you ever find the cabin, don't open the red door." I ignored it. Of course I ignored it, because my father was the most predictable man alive, a man who never kept secrets, a man who lived and died inside boring routines. So the idea that he hid something powerful or dangerous sounded insane, which made me want to know the truth even more. The next morning, I drove 3 hours north. Cold wind cutting through the pines, lake frozen like glass, silence everywhere. Except one thing, footprints. Fresh ones, leading straight into the forest. My father hadn't been here for 30 years. So whose footprints were these? And why did they stop exactly where the map ended? The cabin appeared like a forgotten memory. Wood darkened. Windows cracked. Locks replaced recently. Someone was maintaining it. Someone who didn't want it to disappear. Inside, everything smelled like dust and old paper. A table. A chair. A single lantern. And that red door, smaller than a normal door. Almost like it was built for a child. Or for hiding something that never should have existed in the first place. My father's handwriting was carved into the wood. Do not trust the family history. My blood froze, because my entire life I'd been told our family tree was simple. Normal, ordinary. But someone had lied. And they'd lied. So well that even my father couldn't speak the truth until the day he died. I opened the first drawer. Inside. Dozens of birth records. But none matched our official documents. Different birth dates. Different mothers. Different last names, as if our entire family had been rewritten by someone with power. A sound came from behind the door. Soft. Like breathing. Very slow. Very controlled. Not animal breathing. Human breathing. For the first time, I understood why my father hid this place. Because someone was living here. Someone the family erased. Someone they didn't want the world to know existed. The breathing grew louder. Slow footsteps moved closer to the door. And then a voice whispered my name. Not my full name. Not my nickname. The secret childhood name only my father knew. I stepped back, because the voice wasn't my father's. But it sounded like him. Same tone. Same calmness. Same impossible familiarity. Which meant only one thing. The person behind the door was connected to me. Blood connected. History connected. Truth connected. And the only way to know who they were was to break the one promise my father begged me to keep. And open the red door. I should have walked away the moment I found the locked cedar chest in my mother's attic. But curiosity never lets you walk away. Not when the key is already sitting inside an envelope. With your name written in handwriting you have not seen since childhood. The attic smelled like time had stopped. Old photographs, dust, and memories that always felt slightly edited. Like someone had rewritten my past and left the wrong version behind. When I opened the cedar chest, the first thing I saw was a sealed letter. To my daughter if she ever discovers the truth. My pulse punched through my ribs. The second item was a VHS tape with a timestamp from 1998. The year everything in our family changed. The year my Uncle Daniel disappeared. The year my mother stopped smiling. I played the tape in an old player I dug out from the basement. The screen flickered. My mother appeared younger, softer alive in a way I barely remembered. She sat in a cabin. Behind her a window showed heavy snowstorm. She looked into the camera like she knew I would be watching decades later. "If you are seeing this," she said, "then my brothers have failed to protect the secret. Your Uncle Daniel did not disappear. He was taken by our father, your grandfather. And if you want answers, you must go to Cold Creek Cabin. Do not trust anyone else, not even family." The screen glitched. A shadow moved behind her. She looked terrified for a split second before the tape ended. I froze. Everything I knew about my family cracked. Cold Creek Cabin was real, an abandoned property deep in the mountains of Alberta, the same region where my mother refused to let me travel growing up. I drove there the next morning. Snow covered the long dirt road. Trees leaned in like they wanted to hear my thoughts. The cabin looked empty, but a single lantern glowed in the window. Inside, I found photographs taped to the walls. Pictures of me at different ages. Pictures I never knew existed. Someone had been watching me my entire life. And then the floor creaked behind me. I turned slowly, expecting an intruder. Instead, an elderly man stood there. Tall. Rigid. Eyes cold enough to freeze the air. I recognized him instantly. My grandfather. The man I had been told died before I was born. "You should not have come here," he said. "Your mother tried to keep you safe, but you were always too much like her." Every part of me wanted to run, but every question I lived with for years glued my feet to the floor. Where is Daniel? What happened to him? Why did you watch me my whole life? He stepped closer, the lantern light carving deep lines across his face. Daniel was chosen, he said. Every generation one child is selected, one who carries our family burden. Your mother refused to give you to me, so she offered Daniel instead. It was the only way to protect you. My stomach twisted. Nothing made sense, and yet all the broken pieces of my childhood suddenly aligned. I asked what chosen meant. He walked to a trapdoor in the floor and lifted it. A staircase spiraled down into a bunker. Inside the bunker, walls covered in maps, names, dates, and files marked with the same crest I found on the VHS tape. He tapped a folder labeled my name. You were meant to inherit this legacy, a responsibility older than this country. Daniel took your place, and he served well until he broke the rule and tried to escape. I felt sick. My mother had traded her brother to protect me. My grandfather had hunted me for years. Daniel might still be alive or worse. Then I saw another folder. Fresh. Unsealed. Inside was a recent photograph of me leaving my apartment last week, meaning he had never stopped watching. I stepped back and my heel hit something. A metal lever? Grandfather froze. Do not touch that. That is when I knew, whatever legacy this was, whatever twisted tradition he believed in, I was not going to be part of it. I pulled the lever. The lights burst. Alarm screamed, and Grandfather shouted my mother's name like a curse. I sprinted toward the exit. Snowstorm cutting visibility, but I kept running until the cabin shrank behind me. I thought it was over, but when I reached my car, a figure was sitting in the driver's seat. A man, weak, thin, eyes filled with pain and recognition. He whispered one sentence. I am Daniel, and we need to leave now before he finds us again.